Hey guys, welcome back to another Sunday podcast for Dungeon Divers. This week we're going to talk about the new Unearthed Arcana Draconic Options for 2021. Um, so we'll get that started in just a second. This week I'm here as always, and then I also have Robert and Ben back again. Um, Seem to be the two most common panelists. So
We're popular.
Yeah.
sure, that's a theory. So we'll go ahead
Take it
and
back. We're dependable.
that's accurate. So yeah, Draconic Options. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick, and then we'll get started with that?
Sure. I'm Ben. I've been playing D&D for about 25 plus years. And I've been running D&D games up at the store and amongst my friends for about as long.
I'm Robert. I'm here. I'm not quite as experienced as Ben, but I'm finally running a game, so that's cool.
That's
It's always good.
That's fair.
It's always good to have a new DM in the fold.
I'm Kyle. I also run games from time to time that sometimes go well. I've been playing D&D for a while, and I'm going to do a podcast today. So I guess we can just dive right in with this.
Okay. So Draconic Options. The new Unearthed Arcana that rolled out a few weeks ago at this point. Most interestingly, it was mostly, it seems, a way to fix the Dragonborn as a whole. Their racial features were never the greatest. They were okay, but the damage that their breath weapon did was not great. It was very much the Dragonborn existed in a way because people just like to play dragons. That was on the flyer back when they came out in 4th ed, and we're like, hey, why do people want to play dragons? It's because dragons are cool. We had half dragons in the 3rd ed era that people could play as, and then they just kind of consolidated them as a race in 4th ed. In 5th ed, they were similar, but not the same. They got a breath weapon. That was about, you got a resistance based on your color. Notably, only the chromatic and metallic dragons, mostly because when we hit, in 4th ed, the gem dragons weren't really as much a thing. And in 5th ed, we have not really crossed paths with any gem dragons as a whole, mostly because they are psionic in nature, and traditionally when it comes to developing things for D&D, psionics is somewhere behind everything else in the priority list because it's complex, it's weird, and not a lot of people want to mess with it in a system that already has like four or five subsystems of magic.
Right. Which is fair.
And invariably, there has not yet, maybe 4th edition, but there is other, from 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition, there has not yet been a version of psionics that wasn't like disgustingly broken. Even the playtest stuff that they came out with for psionic classes gave us like 1 or 2 classes that everyone wanted to play because they were amazing, and no psionic content has come out since then.
But one thing I was kind of interested with, or found interesting about the new Dragonborn options, is that the Wizards of the Coast has really made an effort, I feel like, in the last year or two with their race options to make things more correct, I guess you could say. So these are in fact separate races.
Sort of.
Right.
Yes. Well, they're separate subraces.
Well, so that was my indication as well, and then I've seen several things that suggest that subrace is going away as the information presentation concept.
Right. Because with Tasha's, they're moving more towards less worrying about subraces, because you're going to be able to pick and throw your stats wherever you want. You're going to be able to pick and throw your skills and languages wherever you want, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That was one thing that I guess thanks to Tasha's is probably where that is coming from.
It opened that up a lot.
Yeah. So in a way I was surprised by it a little bit, but not entirely. But
what I did like about this particular treatment, first they fixed the breath weapon. Super excited about that. But importantly, the ancestry choice was meaningful, because before, because there was only chromatic and metallic dragon choices, whether you were a gold dragon or a red dragon, dragonborn, you were basically the same. Like you got a cone of fire and fire resistance or whatever.
right.
And it wasn't that big. So with this one, whether you're chromatic, metallic, or now even gem dragon aligned, a whole suite of, like, those are very distinct. Like with the chromatic one, you get your breath weapon as a line, no matter what type, whether it's acid, lightning, poison, fire, cold. It's always going to be a line.
Yeah.
Because you're a chromatic dragon.
Sure.
And the cool thing about them, along with their basic resistances and the fact that the breath weapons now D8s instead of D6s, which is a nice little boost that it needed.
And it's
and you can use it as an attack in place of any attack. So if you're a fighter or a paladin or whatever, and you happen to get 2 attacks around, instead of being like, well, I use my breath weapon and that just is my turn, you're like, I attack with my sword and then I breath weapon you in the face because I can.
Right.
Or you can be like, I get 2 attacks around, so I breath weapon over there, and then I breath weapon over there. And, because I get, each attack can be substituted for a breath weapon up to the amount of breath weapons you can do, which I think is based off your proficiency bonus. So higher levels, you can just be blasting things all over the place with your breath weapon.
You are a flamethrower.
Right. You're a turret of some kind.
Yeah.
But the chromatic dragon line can just make you immune to your damage type for 10 minutes. That's their big deal.
Really?
The chromatic warding power at 3rd level, you can use an action to make yourself immune to your damage type for 10 minutes.
That's right.
So you're like,
once per long rest.
Once per long rest. But still, 10 minutes is a really important amount of time for like the final fight of a boss fight. You're like, I'm a red dragonborn. We're fighting a dragon. I am just immune to fire. This will make the fight go much easier for me, or something along those lines. And then on the metallic side, instead of the ability to just be immune, they tacked on a second breath weapon. So, I don't know if you're familiar with how the metallic dragons operate, but all the metallic dragons have 2 breath weapons.
Yeah.
They have like their elemental breath weapon, and they have like some weird control-y type breath weapon that either like knocks people down or stuns people or like chokes them out or something. And so the metallic dragonborn get this option where you can kind of switch it up, whether you have like a breath weapon that can either incapacitate people or knock them prone from the power of the breath weapon, which I think is kind of cool. And again, it ties in to how Dragonborn function, or just how dragons function. And the gem dragons were kind of neat. I like that their breath weapon choice is it's going to be a 15-foot cone, but it's all of the damage types that are not normally represented in the elemental area.
Mhm.
So it's like, your force damage, your radiant, your psychic, your thunder, necrotic, those. And some of those, like if you're, take the crystal dragonborn, spit radiant damage at people,
right.
or whatever. It's like, what are you? I'm a diamond dragon. Spit radiant light at people.
We'll point out that for the gem dragonborns, that emerald dragonborn is going to be a big one because it gives you that resistance to psychic damage.
Right. Well, it gives you resistance psychic and the ability to breath weapon psychic.
Yeah.
Which is not a well defended.
Yeah.
That and I think thunder damage is also not as representative. So like the Sapphire Dragonborn are going to get a lot on that raid too.
I kind of love how many slightly different telepathy features there are.
Right. Honestly. Stylistically, they also pick up psychic mind, so they're able to issue orders at people, but those people cannot respond to them. So psychically, you can order people around at like 30 feet. But their third level bump is the ability to manifest gem-like wings and fly
at third level, right?
Yeah. Now it only lasts for like a minute, so it's not like a super. It's not like a super game-breaking thing. That's still 10 rounds, which is an impressive amount of time. Like, it'll outlast a combat. And it's on par with, I would say, the Azamars have that manifest wings fly ability as well. But just the flavor of, like, these spectral gem wings that manifest and let you fly just look really cool in my head. And I want to... I wish that I could have had something similar in steal that for like the Chromatic Dragon clan, but I like the wording for the Chromatic Dragons a little better. I've got a character I'm building that I kind of wanted those spectral wings for, but maybe I'll have to pass on. As far as those go, Dragonborn.
I have nothing bad to say about any of these.
Yeah, they're all nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, the gem ones I think are the weakest of the three. But they get a lot of style points. So
the gem one is with a breath weapon, 15-foot cone. Otherwise, follows all the established trends of breath weapons.
Right, and oft not defended against damage types. So they get that. And like I said, the wings, the gem wings gives them like major style points. But I think, I prefer, I think of the three, the Chromatic Dragonborn one was really, I can see a lot of uses for that one in the right situations.
For whatever reason, all I can see with the breath weapon for the gem Dragonborn is, I just like to say, Wizards of the Coast, you owe us a lozenge-shaped breath weapon, and you know it. Just because that's what I see when I picture just this giant lozenge coming out.
No, the gem dragons I like their breath weapon types, like all the damage types that they get to play with.
Mm-hmm.
With the metallic dragons, the fact that they get two different breath weapons and one of them can just incapacitate people for a turn is really cool, because incapacitation is not something to laugh at. That's how you end encounters.
Now, importantly, there are 4 new Draconic options, right?
Yes.
The fourth one.
The last one, Kobolds. Kobolds have picked up a new
mini Dragonborn.
The smallest dragons.
Baby dragon.
So there's interested me in that they are. So they get to keep their dark vision and all that other stuff, but their Draconic legacy power can manifest in one of 3 ways. You can either get advantage on saving throws to end frightened. You get to know a cantrip of some kind, which is kind of fun. Just a kobold who happens to just know one random cantrip. Or you can make your unarmed strikes with your tail to do 1d6 plus strength. And I kind of want to see a Kobold Monk that uses this feature. To
Robert's in the room. We're not allowed to make
it's gonna be great. Kobold Monk. It's gonna be great. That has now a tail strike feature that he can get in with, and then on top of that, you get that Draconic Roar feature that lets you only like 10 feet around you, but you get advantage on attack rolls against them. And you can use this equal to your proficiency bonus as well.
It's a good team buff.
Yeah. Fun add-on for Kobold Rogues.
Yeah.
They can't seem to get, advantage on, just roar and just be like, now I stab you.
Also, no more sunlight sensitivity.
Yes, I'm super excited that they cut sunlight sensitivity. I never thought it was a good balancer for races anyway, and most of the time it is often ignored in games anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only races it makes sense for are creatures from like the Underdark, like Drow or whatever. But like,
even then, like most of the time, if you're encountering Drow on the surface, the only time it ever comes up is if the players remember that the Drow should have sunlight sensitivity and have access to the daylight spell. Like, that is the only time the players ever want it to come up.
Right.
Because if someone's playing a Drow, they just want the DM to forget that sunlight sensitivity is a thing.
Yeah.
So that they can just act normally like the rest of the party. And honestly, the Drow I don't feel were balanced to the point where sunlight sensitivity was an accurate balance for the and the kobolds were the same. Like, honestly, it was just holding kobolds back. So losing sunlight sensitivity, a win in my book. I don't know, Robert, you got anything that any of these really interested you in any plans or ideas?
I definitely have some.
I'd like to point out you mentioned Kobold Monk, and he definitely pulled out his phone and made a note of that.
I definitely made a note for a couple things from this. I do have some plans, possibly use some the gem Dragonborns.
Just because you like the breath weapon add-on, or does stylistically you got
more of a style thing?
Yeah.
Well,
it's
possible NPC.
Well, if for no other reason, it's just fucking cool.
Yeah, it's very, very flashy, very flamboyant. When you can manifest glowing gem shard wings, that just looks cool.
It's the Elton John of Dragonborn.
Well, I've been very much into wanting to plan a druid NPC, and I think a Dragonborn druid could be really fun.
Okay.
Especially if you make it the gem one, so now you can have this tiny frog that cause psychic damage and fly away with spectral wings.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. No,
it's gonna be great.
No, but once again, I am really happy what they've done with the kobolds. I feel like they've really redeemed themselves here with this. Because for so long I felt like I wanted to play kobold, but like there was just no.
Oh yeah,
it didn't feel worth it.
Right. As a DM, I would just use a kobold stat block and call it a day.
Yeah.
Because the stat blocks were always better than having to put together a kobold character.
But now, I mean, here it is. There's a cup. There's like I have no complaints. Wizards, you did good.
I now have a kobold race block that I'm willing to use, maybe for a certain NPC that my party has in the Icewind Dale game.
How dare you? Yeah, no, it's
Trex will have all kinds of entertaining toys now.
It's impressive, really.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike some of the other Unearthed Arcana that's come out in past years, it's better. So how about feats?
Right. So there are 3, one for each dragon type, of course.
Right.
So the chromatic line, interesting. You can either use your bonus action to basically give a weapon an extra D4 of a damage type of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. So if you want to be like, form blazing sword, just set the sword on fire, be great.
Right.
Or if you take acid, cold, lightning, fire, or poison damage, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that particular instance of damage, and you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, getting it back when you finish the long rest. So at some point, you're just like, I don't want to take all that. I'm the wrong kind of Dragonborn. I don't want to take all of that poison damage. I will choose to be resistant.
Well, with the 1d4 damage bonus of any of the 5 chromatic, it's just the Baskin Robbins of murder.
Right.
I mean, it's nice.
And honestly, an extra D4 of elemental damage never hurt anyone. Well, that's going to hurt a lot of people, but it's
right.
But it's not gonna, it's not game breaking in any meaningful way.
Solid features. Also,
and like I said, the ability to, smash the I need to be resistant to this element now button,
right,
on occasion, a number of your for your proficiency bonus.
Right.
That's going to save a lot of Chromatic Dragonborn.
Good single fight damage buff. No. Now, are all 3 of them? They're all referred to as gifts, right?
Yes.
Because there's gift of the chromatic, gift of the metallic, and gift of the gem. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Which means it's not relegated to just Dragonborn,
right?
Because it says here in the little feat notes, when you basically get it. It could be a gift from a true dragon, a manifestation of draconic heritage, the blessing of a draconic god, a consequence of slaying a true dragon.
So potentially a Dragonblood sorcerer could have this.
A Dragonblood sorcerer could have this. A person in a party that adventure ended killing a dragon.
Right.
Could if you got your 4th level or 8th level killing a dragon, you could choose this feat to be a feat. If you did something that made Bahamut happy with you, you could be given this feat as a gift when you get a chance to get a feat. Now this is the Chromatic Dragon feat, so maybe on the god level, you'd have to do something to make Tiamat happy with you to be granted this particular gift, or just interact with a chromatic dragon in some way, shape, or form. If you're not blood heritage related to a chromatic dragon,
the gift of the metallic dragon teaches you cure wounds and lets you cast it once a day for free. As much as you want with your spell slots.
That is yeah.
Cool.
Right.
I like it. And the second ability it has as well is a very protective type of ability. As a reaction, when you or another creature you can see within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can just use reaction to manifest your spectral wings and roll a d4, and they get that much of an AC.
Yeah.
Be good for some specific builds.
I was gonna say it's an incredible feat for a lot of builds.
I am a little sad that ended up in the metallic dragon gift pile.
Really?
Yes, because the protective wings, as we've established before, are manifested with the gem dragon. And I thought it would be cool because the gem dragon gifts, basically you get a stat bump intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1. And then if you take damage from a creature nearby, you can use your reaction to make like some telekinetic energy and like chuck it at them, which is a thing. Like it's not as exciting, but I like that if you're gonna give me the ability to manifest gem wings at 3rd level, at 4th level when I take my feat, give me the ability to use those gem wings as some kind of shield. I thought that would have been cool.
Right.
So I feel that those maybe are misplaced. I don't know if maybe the first half of the Metallic Dragon, like the Cure Wounds, like sure,
Right.
Metallic Dragons can have that. Honestly, like I feel like the feat for the Gem Dragon was kind of a throwaway because it's
That's fair.
like the other 2 dragons get 2 cool things.
Right. And
the Gem Dragons are like, well, you get a stat bump and you get what feels like
telekinetic backlash?
hellish rebuke, kind of.
Yeah.
But a telekinetic hellish rebuke of sorts, which is fine.
But it's not as, it doesn't seem as
Right.
up there as the first 2.
Right.
Again,
if you're gonna let me manifest wings, let me use them in cool ways.
Yeah.
And I feel that they've just kind of.
Yeah, I
Could've
feel like they
crossed
kind of gave
that.
up there. That's something to be said for that feat.
But on top of that, but those are the feats. Again, of the 3, honestly, I feel the Chromatic Dragons won out here.
Yeah.
Because again, being able to give your weapons elemental damage is that extra push that sometimes will get you over the hump fighting certain monsters.
Yeah.
Being able to just slam the, I need resistance now button is also a solid feat to have in your back pocket to be like when the DM's like, well, you triggered the trap and it's lightning damage from here on out. And you're like, for right now, I'm resistant to lightning damage because otherwise I'd be dead.
True. True.
That's a solid feat to just have around. The Metallic Dragon one, Cure Wounds. Everyone likes Cure Wounds, but honestly, like, who's gonna be cast? Like, let's imagine a character that would take the Metallic Dragon feat so that they could cast Cure Wounds. The Paladin, the Dragon, your traditional, Metallic Dragonborn, Gold Dragonborn Paladin or whatever, already has healing spells. He has access to them and a healing pool of his own. A Dragon-Blooded Sorcerer already isn't a healer, so getting access to Cure Wounds is like an add-on to a party that already probably has a healer of some kind.
Yeah.
Other, like a Dragonborn who isn't one of those 2 things, like a Metallic Dragonborn Metallic Dragonborn of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
If they're already playing a healing class, they already have access to Cure Wounds. If they're not playing a healing class, healing isn't their job.
That's fair, I guess. Yeah. That's.
So in that case, you'd be picking it up for be able to do the spectral wings shield. And in that case, you're playing like probably a healer or not a fighting person. Yeah, and that's fine. You already probably have a high armor class anyway.
I see
but you're already protecting other people.
I can see someone playing a wizard picking this up.
Just to give you
that quick bump,
extra D4. But if you're playing a wizard, you already have access to shield. So but I mean, I guess that would be a way to help save you in the case where you're trying to hold those spell slots for not casting shield.
Yeah. Well, and
like I said, the gem one just feels like a collection of leftovers.
Yeah, I feel like each of these has each one side of the coin. Either way,
one got heads, one got tails, and then the gem got the edge.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
But yeah, like of the 3, I personally think the Chromatic Dragonborn one got the best.
I have to agree
of
with
the
that.
3.
Yeah.
The others are fine. Like they're not They don't jump out to me as something that's amazing,
Right.
but they have their uses. But honestly, of the three, the Chromatic Dragon gift was head and shoulders above the rest.
Right.
So that's that one.
And then we have spells.
Oh yeah, there's they gave us what seven new
Yep.
spells.
7 new dragon themed spells.
Right. The first one on the list, Draconic Transformation. You get to become a dragon, kinda. Not a full fledged dragon.
It's a 7th level spell.
Right.
Yeah.
7th level. Bonus actions. Apparently, you need a statuette of a dragon worth at least 500 gold to make this happen. But I mean, you're a 7th level character. I mean, you can plan for this.
Yeah.
I can now just imagine somebody's 7th level character with like a little curio case with like 5 or 6 little statuettes of dragon, because you're going to want to cast this more than. Well, I guess it doesn't consume it, so you only need the one.
Right.
But it'd be funny just to see a guy who, has like a little curio case of expensive dragon minis, just so that he can, just in case something happens to one of them.
And this one I got in Waterdeep.
Right. But it's really nice. You get Draconic Magic transforms you into a thing that is dragon-like.
Yeah.
You get Blind Sight, which is good.
40-foot flying speed.
And whenever you cast spells, and as a bonus action, you can make a breath of shimmering energy in a 30-foot cone, and each creature in the area makes a dex save or 3d8 force damage, or half on a successful save. But like you get Blind Sight, which lets you see invisible creatures effectively, because it even says that at the end. You get the ability to fly, and you get a breath weapon when you cast the spell. So not only do you get the transformation, but you also get the breath weapon that turn. But also every turn you get a bonus action to just breath weapon 3d8 force damage, which I think is nice. Force is not a well-resisted damage type.
That's also not wrong.
I do kind of like it better than like Tenzer's transformation.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't limit you to not playing your spells as well.
Right, you can even do other things. Now, granted, it's a concentration spell, so that does limit like some things you can do.
Kind of feels like a beginner's guide to shape changing.
Right.
In a way.
But, you get to be a dragon. That's the
dragon.
Thing. Right. So look, this is what people want. There was a Wizards did a lot of polls on this.
Yeah.
This is why Dragonborn exists, because people wanted to play dragons. This is a spell that lets you be a dragon.
Yeah. Next up, there is Fizzbonds. Right, I'm saying that right?
Probably.
Sure.
There's a disgusting amount of character names that pop into this.
Fizzbond's Platinum Shield. It's a 6th level spell. Lets you construct a glowing shield around you or a creature within 60 feet for up to a minute, which in combat is a long time.
10 rounds.
You can change the target during the duration as a bonus action, and the target gains half cover and resistance to chromatic damage types, and the evasion feature as well. It looks like so. I had no complaints about this.
That's all upside.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. The fact that you can move it around, is also kind of interesting. As a bonus action, you can just be like, all right, you don't need that anymore. You need that. Just kind of move it around the battlefield.
It is only available to sorcerers and wizards, though.
Now, importantly, you do need a platinum-plated dragon scale worth at least 500 gold. So you have to go find a platinum dragon or a dragon scale that someone has plated in platinum.
Hey, can I borrow one of those?
Just looks at you confused. So Though again, it does not say it consumes it, so you just need to have one on hand,
Right.
which is not, I guess, too.
There are harder things to
problematic.
get.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, well, if you're casting 6th level magic, you're
You've been around the block.
What, an 8th or 9th level character?
9th level
Question
character,
mark?
yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So 11. Anyway, somewhere in there.
You've been adventuring for a tad.
So you should have the money and the resources, and arguably with how weird adventuring parties are when it comes to we killed the dragon, let's strip it for parts. You should have at least some dragon scales on hand, and so at that point you just need to go find someone to dip it in some platinum for you, which is an expense, but again, you're a high level adventurer and probably have the money.
Right. No, that's an impressive one.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that a lot. Makes me wish I liked playing wizards and or sorcerers.
Right,
but I just might this time.
So Flame Stride's the next one on the list, and this is the one that seems to be one of the more amazing ones. It's a bonus action to cast, only verbal and somatic components, concentration, of course. But billowing flames of a dragon cover your feet, granting you explosive speed. For the duration, your speed is increased by 20 feet. Moving doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. When you move within 5 feet of a creature or object that isn't being worn or carried, that thing takes 1d6 fire damage from your trail of heat. So it's just I need to move. Now, I fear somebody who's maybe like a tabaxi wizard or tabaxi is it sorcerers only? What was I missed that one.
Says
Flame Stride. No, it's artificer, ranger, sorcerer, wizard. Great. So
unfortunately, no warlock though.
That's fine.
That disappoints me.
Tabaxi. Let's say tabaxi ranger. Rangers, canonically, don't have to worry so much about difficult terrain. Tabaxi, canonically, have the ability to double their movement speed in a turn. This gives them an additional 20 feet of movement. And anything that they move within 5 feet of just takes a d6 fire damage.
Robert, I'm going to ask you to stop thinking right now, please.
So what you're talking about here is basically like a flash type character.
I was about to say like
basically
a flame dash
that doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, mind you. Yeah. That you can just zigzag through the enemy, and if it's like low level goblins or something,
and cause damage at the same time,
and cause a d6 to all of them, and at higher levels does more damage.
And increases your speed.
Eldritch. Think about how cool that would be for an Eldritch Knight too, though.
Yeah,
that would be really nice.
Well, yeah, because they have access to the wizard spell list, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you could arguably pick that up.
Chills.
Yeah, like that's a fun spell. You move around, you do lots of damage. I mean, it's only like a d6 per target, but still. Like that's kind of fun.
The next one, kind of. I think it's odd that this one's named Icing Death, since the only other thing named Icing Death is a sword that Dristordan has. Right?
Isn't Icing Death a dragon?
Is it a dragon? Is that where the sword came from?
Yeah, I think so.
It comes from Icing Death.
Don't I have a mini called Icing Death, the giant white dragon? Hold on.
I guess that would make sense. I didn't ever think about it canonically like that. That would.
Yes, it's a white dragon who lived in the region of the Reggar Glacier in Icewind Dale. So yeah, Icing Death is the white dragon that I have the mini of. It's like the large white dragon mini.
Ooh.
It was one of the D&D minis that was published with Dritz and the barbarian whose name I keep forgetting.
Wolfgar, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those, they were in a box set.
Yes.
And there's this big white dragon mini that stands maybe 8 inches tall. It's nice. I use it whenever I need a big dragon miniature because all the big dragon minis are super expensive, but that particular one's not,
right,
because it was like mass produced for that particular box set.
But no.
Anyway,
the Icing Death's Frost is a second level. It's a baby cone of cold, essentially. I guess is a good way to put it. Reduces a target's speed to 0 on a failed save.
Mm-hmm. Covers them in ice.
Yeah. They can break off the ice that is formed on them or an adjacent creature at the end of the speed loss. I like the idea of seeing someone take a bunch of fire damage and melting the ice. Seems like a fun little narrative.
But no, that one's not bad. And again, components for it, just a vial of melt water. So just and again, doesn't say it's consumed. So as long as you just have some snow melt on you, you can just cone of cold people.
It's perfect for Icewind Dale.
Right,
Snow everywhere.
Snow everywhere. No, it's good.
Pretty cut and dry.
It's a very Burning Hands esque spell. It's a 30-foot cone instead of, I think Burning Hands is only a 15-foot cone. So it's double the thing, and then it can also turn their speed off, which is not nothing.
Yeah.
When it comes to combat.
Right.
No, I think that can be that gets me. I've been trying to put together like an elementalist wizard that doesn't, because all the elementalist wizards always do fire. Because let's be honest, that's where Fireball lives, and why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
But this last round of spells and stuff that have come out, because there was a handful of spells that came out in the new Icewind Dale book that were frost themed, and now with this the second level spell, you can really put together like a really fun ice wizard or ice sorcerer or something along those lines.
I definitely agree. I'm glad that they're just getting some cold spells going.
Just so anything that steers the party away from the party spellcaster away from taking Fireball, in my opinion, is a good path.
Fireball is nice.
I know it is. It's classic. Don't get me wrong, but like, I enjoy when I run across a party that doesn't have Fireball.
That's fair.
I want to point out that the other day in game, I had said I'll take a page out of Damicus's book and whatever. Yeah, it turns out I don't have Fireball. I did not give Alexander Fireball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I changed it as I did. And I'm fine with that. I got Lightning Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So Lightning Bolt is one between the two. I've always gone with Lightning Bolt.
Really?
Oh yeah. Back when even my first my Gnomish Illusionist character, way back in the day, the chef, I specifically chose Lightning Bolt over Fireball for him to be different. And honestly, I just like the aesthetics of Lightning Bolt better. It just looks cooler. Fireball's just like ball of fire. Lightning Bolt's like arc of lightning. Giant. Great.
But no. Next one's Nether's Mischief. It's a second level. For those of you that don't know, Nether, however you pronounce that last name, Nether's the god of pseudo-dragons and fairy dragons, and part of the Sealy court. So, fun little snippet there.
Right.
It creates a random, there's a D4 table, right?
Yeah. It's a random cube, 20-foot cube of Draconic magic that does stuff. I think the one that interested me the most on the list. So the list goes like this. Number 1, smell of apple pie fills the air. Each creature in the cube gets a wisdom save or becomes charmed till the start of your next turn. Number 2, bouquet of flowers appear all around, and each creature in the cube gets a dex save or is blinded as flowers spray water in their faces. Number 3, each creature in the cube must succeed on a wisdom save or begin giggling until the start of your next turn. A giggling creature is incapacitated and uses all of its movement to move in a random direction. And then, of course, number 4, drops of molasses appear and hover in the cube, turning it into difficult terrain until the start of your next turn. All of those are ridiculous. Completely and totally.
That is something I feel like a wild magic sorcerer would definitely pick up.
Right. But I think my favorite one is 2. I like the bouquets of flowers that like spit water in people's eyes to blind them. That entertains me.
Makes me miss the Muck Dweller.
I don't know if stylistically, looking how it would be like this cube appears in the air and then like just floating molasses droplets, and you have to like kind of navigate those through the cube because it's now difficult terrain. But honestly, difficult terrain doesn't. I'm gonna be honest. Difficult terrain doesn't come up in games as much as it should, and it's mostly because we don't use play mats as much in this edition of D&D. The combats aren't map based, so when you're trying to theater of the mind difficult terrain, it's very hard to judge distances appropriately. And remember that like certain parts of this map you can only move like half speed at, and some parts you can't. And so anything that grants difficult terrain is, I think, at a kind of disadvantage player wise. Like players aren't going to care as much whether something causes difficult terrain because it just doesn't come up as much or isn't used as much unless the party is actually like on a virtual tabletop with a map or has a DM who actually maps out the combats on the table itself on like a grid or something. At that point, yeah, go ahead, use difficult terrain features because they are tactically amazing. But often they just don't see the use that I would like them to, and it's hard to kind of conceptually get the players to understand how difficult terrain works in a theater of the mind style fight where most of the time people are just being like, I go to attack that guy. Are you within 30-ish feet? Sure. Then you just run over there and attack that guy. That's fine. And or people kind of lose track of where the fights are happening anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really like the bouquet of flowers attempting to blind people. That's my favorite of that list.
Yeah.
I do like that the component for it is a pie crust from an apple pie. Not consumed, so arguably I've got a wizard running around with like a pie crust in his pocket for some reason.
You know, another thing I think is, you know, with Tasha's, they had that like chef feed, and then you know that caustic brew also uses rotting food.
You can make a food mage.
Yeah, you can make a food mage.
Great.
I could see a bard who specializes in cooking just having all these random things that they're throwing around.
Now, one of these days, we're gonna have a food wizard. It'll be great.
I would not be opposed. That would be.
I just have some leftover pie crust. I'm casting a spell.
I mean,
What?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, that's it's a good one too. I again, so far no complaints with any of these. Really, little things here and there maybe, but not overall. They're mostly solid spells.
Right.
Waltham's Psychic Glance, the 4th level damaging enchantment, right? Which you can either target normally or by uttering the target's name. If the latter, the spell ignores cover and invisibility, assuming the target is within range. 10d6 psychic damage is nothing to sneeze at all. That's
incapacitation.
Yeah. It also incapacitates the target until the start of your next turn. No effect at all on a successful save, though, which is fair. I mean, when you're giving you that much opportunity to do damage. Though targeting int means a lot of enemies are going to have a tough time making on that roll. Bards, sorcerers, and warlocks and wizards all get this one.
Mm-hmm.
That's as a person who likes to play a warlock, that's good news for me.
Yeah. This has Great Old One Pact Warlock written all
It
over
does.
it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be happy times there.
No complaints. That's a solid.
Especially since Warlocks cast always at the highest level spell slot. Always.
Never. What level are you casting this?
The highest.
Why do you have to
the
ask?
highest level?
We.
The only spell slot I have. The
Yeah.
highest level.
Yeah. No. It's. I'd like to see this flavored out, like it as into a full on. I'd like to see it built differently with each class that you're allowed to use it in. I think it'd be interesting to see a bard use this as a psychic, like it's just almost like an insult,
Psychic insult.
like almost like a cutting words kind of.
only but very cutting.
Yeah, very depending on the
The
character.
vicious mockery really got an upgrade.
Yeah, your mama jokes got a little extreme.
It's a little too hard now.
Yeah, no, that one's fine. I don't have any major complaints with that one. And then last on the list, summon Draconic Spirit.
Oh yeah.
So finally we can summon dragons, kind of. I mean, it is a dragon. So you call forth a Draconic Spirit. Now here's the important stuff. Okay, so casting time, 1 action. So how summoning spells work. Range 60 feet. That's fine. You just need space for your dragon.
Yeah.
Components, the verbal, the somatic, and I like this feature. This is my favorite. The material. You need to get an art object from a dragon's hoard worth at least 500 gold. Because I'm going to be honest, when it comes to dragon hoards, it's always gems, it's always treasure, it's always gold, it's always loot.
Art.
But you never those art like I like putting art objects in treasure.
Yeah.
But often that part of the treasure hoard is forgotten because players don't interact with art objects in any meaningful way. They just are like, what is its gold conversion? We'll just add that to the party fund. We'll pretend we sold it off at some point when we get back to town.
Yeah.
This makes you carry around art objects that you've stolen from dragons to be able to cast the spell.
I love it. It also gives you the space to choose your dragon type, right?
Sort of. Yeah. When you cast it, you choose what kind, chromatic, gem, or metallic, and then that informs, I think, the damage type of the dragon and the resistances that it may or may not have options to choose from.
It's for
it's an ally to you. It sticks around. It does stuff.
It's also exclusively for druids, sorcerers, and wizards, right?
Mm-hmm. When you summon it, you share its resistances. It has shared resistances, so when you summon the dragon, choose one of its damage resistances. You have resistance to the chosen damage type until the spell ends.
Yeah.
So you get a free resistance out of the deal. On top of that, it comes with a multi-attack that is the breath weapon and a number of bite and claw attacks equal to half your spell, the spell's level rounded down.
Yeah. It's
depending on how because you can upcast it
right.
at higher levels. So it starts off at 5th level, but if you cast it with like a 6th level spell slot, that's 3 attacks around plus the breath weapon.
Just
you get a nice dragon. You get a good dragon out of this deal.
The real question to me is all of these things have been fairly solid. The races, the feats, the spells, and I find these all extremely interesting. However, if you had to take a guess,
are we gonna play the what survives the editing process and makes it to print?
I feel like it will all make it, But you don't think it'll all make
no,
it?
there's some things I don't think are going to make it to print.
If it doesn't all make it, let's assume for now that it would all make it. If it does, what book
Dragonlance.
you think?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
in heartbeat.
Yeah.
We're swiftly running out of published properties that Wizards can. I mean, we're not swiftly running out. There are many of them still because we've mostly spent our entire time in
The
Forgotten Realms with we did Wild Mount and then we also did Eberron. So there's still Dark Sun, there's Dragonlance, there's whatever Birthright was back in the day. There's plenty of settings that we can. There's I keep forgetting the space one. Spelljammer. There's Spelljammer.
Yeah.
There are a lot of settings that we can play around in, but Dragonlance is one of the big, popular, even to this day.
I feel like
settings.
I feel like when it comes out, it'll be a rather thick book.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But these features, should they be presented, I could easily see them in a Dragonlance.
That would have been my assumption as well. I missed Dragonlance. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I know they were tied up with the rights to Dragonlance for a while.
Well, they recently had a legal fight, but that wasn't over the rights. That was over of the book publishing. There was the legal brief for that was 100 some pages long. I only read about half of it because it was all lawyer talk.
Yeah.
And I listened to about 3 or 4 podcasts where people actually went through and explained legally what was going on. But mostly it was like a contract dispute between the authors. And it wasn't for the rights to Dragonlance because they don't have the rights. The authors have the rights to Dragonlance. But there's, rights negotiations to build a setting book are gettable. We've done it before. They'll do it again.
Right. I think it was interesting because that dispute got settled fairly recently, within the last 2 or 3 months.
Right.
And now here we are with the UA. So I kind of feel like maybe at the end of the year or the beginning of next, we'll get a Dragonlance. Maybe. I hope.
I don't. I'm not going to put money on this year because they've already kind of announced the slate of things that are coming out this year. They haven't announced specifically what most of them are. We know the new Ravenloft book's coming out,
right?
But we know that there's an adventure that's still coming out, and another splat book that is some kind of new content of some kind,
which makes me nervous. But
and then there might be a 4th book if I remember correctly, but none of them are their hinting announcement lineup did not hint towards Dragonlance for any of those books. Now that could be a misinterpretation on our part, and one of those could be a Dragonlance book, but I'm gonna guess that your earliest shot at Dragonlance is next year.
Yeah. Either way, I will graciously accept a Dragonlance book. Regardless of when it comes, I will accept it.
Right. Things that I expect will survive the test phase process. Honestly, all the Dragonborn types are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Chromatic got the best, I think. Metallics also pretty good. Gem needs work.
I think it's fairly solid.
At the very least, the gift of the Gem Dragon.
Well,
that was my next question. Do you think the Gem Feat will stay?
No, the Gem Feat's gonna be different. It's gotta be. I don't know what it will be that will make it different, but just the other 2 are way more developed than that one, and it just feels like an add-on. Yeah. Honestly, if I were designing it, I would 100% move the wing shield over as the defensive side of the feat.
Right.
Develop the offensive side to be more than just like a psychic hellish rebuke.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see something a little bit more. I don't know. Like, it would have to be psychic themed because gem dragons are psychic themed, are kind of psychic themed. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't know, and this is why we have this problem because they're just. It's been so long since gem dragons have popped into D&D culture that it's just hard to. I don't know how would we develop the gem dragon feat so that it's not terrible. They said I would pull in the flying part, and because you're already getting the wings,
right?
Like, well, if you're a Dragonborn,
yeah,
you're getting the wings. So being able to on a feat use them as a shield for you or an ally is a cool visual. But offensively, so for the Chromatic Dragon, you get like a D4 on a weapon. The Metallic Dragons don't really have an offensive power. They just have the ability to do Cure Wounds. So they got like a healing power. Does the Gem Dragons get like a social power since they're of a psychic bent? Do they grant like a social power to go with their Gem Wing defensive power? Like the ability to not really charm people, but maybe like some kind of a charm ability. Like your eyes glint with the power of gem, like gem magic or whatever, and make people like you a little bit better or something. I'd go maybe that route.
I could see that.
And then with the Metallic Dragons, they get the Chromatic Dragons, their defensive power is resistance to an elemental type of damage. We're pulling the wings from the Metallic Dragons and moving them over to the Gem Dragons. So defensively, do they get like an actual armor class boost, or is that the wings give somebody an armor class boost? And I don't want to do like double up on resistance. So what would the Metallic Dragons get to replace that, I guess would be the question. I expect that there will be changes in that regard. The Chromatic Dragon one, perfectly fine. Don't touch it.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect.
I agree with that.
Change
100%.
Nothing. With the Kobold race, I expect that it will be about the same when it's done. The Draconic Roar may change because there are a lot of people who are super skittish about giving somebody advantage on any enemy within 10 feet. Like a lot of... I can see where a lot of players and DMs who like to make broken characters might enjoy that. However, I don't foresee it will actually be a problem. I think it's a problem only for people who want to see it as a problem.
Yeah.
But I feel that maybe testing will prove me wrong, and they either will dial that back or the Draconic Roar will do something slightly different. The fact that the Draconic Legacy gives your Kobold like 3 choices, I like that, especially since the 3 choices. I don't know about the advantage on saving throws to end the frightened condition choice, because that doesn't come up very often in game, and if it does, it never hits the whole party, and you generally save out of it like a turn later anyway.
Yeah.
So that one's the least exciting of the 2, but the cantrip and the being able to use your tail for a d6 plus strength mod damage is hilarious. And I expect those 2 will stick around if maybe the first one doesn't change to be a little bit more of a social option.
Right.
The spell should be fine.
I think so. I don't see any issues with the spells.
They may change a little bit. It'll take testing to see if any of them change. The Flame Stride one might, change, or they'll just look at it and be like, look, in order to make it ridiculous, you literally have to build your character ridiculous, and at that point, that's your fault and your DM's fault.
Right.
That's not a fault of the spell. Things happened in a way to get you to there, and you've probably so narrowly built your character, it's not a problem anymore after you did your one thing.
Also true.
But all the other ones are fine. The fact that you can summon a dragon at 5th level is cool.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to go through to be able to summon a dragon at 5th level, I think makes it worth it, because you would have had to at least get to a dragon's lair once and spend and hold on to 500 gold worth of the treasure all the time and not lose it.
Yeah.
And if your DM gets tired of you summoning dragons, he could just have someone steal the art object away, and you'll have to go on a side quest to get your art object back, or go find a new dragon to kill or something.
Yeah.
Plus, it says art object, so it's not a specific art object. So at that point, it becomes up to the DM to police what kind of art objects your party comes across and make them maybe slightly inconvenient to haul around.
It's just nice life-size painting. It's fine.
Right. It's like this is a jade bust of an ancient dragon or something, but it's literally like 60 pounds of jade, and it's like the size of a football,
right.
And it's not easy to lug around, but you lug it around because it can summon a dragon. But yeah, stuff like that.
Wizards definitely ritual casting Tinsel floating this from now on.
But it makes the art objects table fun.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, these are art objects, these are your gold value, you're going to liquidate them at some point. Like, this makes you want to hold on to art objects, which makes it for the DM kind of fun to come up with art objects that are of that price point, and also fun to use.
Right.
Here, if you got any side thoughts, I'm going to look up the art objects table real quick just to see what is a 500 gold piece art object these days.
I just overall, just looking over this week, I think that worse things have been put out for the UA. I hope the majority of it makes it. Really, I do. As someone that's not played a Dragonborn, as someone that's recently this week talked about building a Dragonborn sorcerer, I'd really like to explore the possibilities of that. So, at some point, maybe that'll be a thing for me. So, any side notes from you, Robert, on any of this?
Not really. I think pretty much everything's been covered between most of this conversation.
Yeah.
So,
I
like the spells. I like at least 2 of the feats really well. I like the subclasses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to try to figure out how to give a monk that flame stride.
I knew you were.
Minus multi. Well, I'd definitely have to multi-class, but
yeah, you'd have to, and that'd be a little rough. Unless you made some kind of monk order, because there's some the monk traditions that you have to custom out your own monk tradition, because some of them can cast spells, like the elemental monk can cast certain spells. So you'd have to make your own tradition that flame stride is on their spell list for some reason. You could blow key points to do that. Anyway, so for those aspiring DMs out there that want to figure out what kind of weird football,
as we both lean in
to give your aspiring wizard who wants to summon a dragon, in the above 500 GP art object table, there's 10 to choose from that are just in this table, but anything higher than that is still perfectly valid. So these the silver chalice set with moonstones. So they always have to have that in hand to cast the spell.
They're just gonna be fancy at that point.
I like it. It's a pimp
Yeah. There's a silver-plated steel longsword with jet set in the hilt, so some kind of cool, fancy ornamental sword. Wizards don't traditionally carry, but I mean, it's
a win-win. It's a weapon and
it is arguably a weapon and an art object that you can use. A carved harp of exotic wood with ivory inlay and zircon gems. So you make them haul a harp around.
Not like a shepherd's harp, like a harp.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A small gold idol. So I would say something about the size of like a football, but gold in the shape of a
That's fair.
thing. A gold dragon comb set with red garnets as eyes. So smaller, but still an interesting object to behold. And it's shaped like a dragon. You're using it to summon a dragon. It looks cool.
I have ideas.
A bottle stopper cork embossed with a gold leaf set with amethyst. So smaller item, like a cork.
Something could fit in your
bottle
pocket.
yeah. A ceremonial electrum dagger with black pearl in the pommel. It's like a fancy right knife that, you can summon dragons with. Good times. Or an obsidian statuette with gold fittings and inlay. So another football-sized statue. Or a painted gold war mask. Possibly shaped like a dragon. Or something along those natures. So that's in like the slightly above 500 gold treasure pile. I don't know if you fit those into your dragon hordes, people, so that your wizards can learn how to summon dragons. And then they'll be like, well, we can't sell. Like the party will be like, well, we gotta sell it. You can't sell this off. I need this. Why do you need this?
But we're broke.
But I want to summon a dragon. So yeah, that's
really good. Give them that 500 gold piece statuette shaped like a dragon. That's also a art piece. So they can use it for 2 spells, and then they really got to fight for it.
Good times all around. So yeah, just get the creative juices flowing there.
Yeah.
If you're a wizard and want to cast some giant dragon spell someday, go find yourself. Go steal some from a dragon's horde. Go find a nice hefty art object to haul around.
Yeah.
For all of you DMs out there, start slipping cool art objects into your dragon's horde, because there are wizards who are going to be wanting to cast some spells soon.
Wizard of my game don't even have his spell book.
That is unfortunate. But yeah, so I encourage that. I encourage more art objects in treasure hordes, especially now that they are functionally useful for players to have access to do things with, as opposed to just, well, it's an art object. Well, do we go back to town and sell it, or do we have like a house somewhere that we like shove it in as this is our reliquary of treasures that we've stolen from our adventures. Here's our museum to our hubris.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
So
no, all good things. Solid UA. I feel like
one of my favorite UAs
so
to
far.
this point. There's only a few missteps, but overall, I'm happy with all of I'm seeing out of it.
The development team that worked on this, good job. I hope you sleep well at night because you deserve it.
Right.
It's.
Like I said, as we were talking before, one of my friends was like, "Hey, we're starting an Eberron game."
Yeah.
And I had to make a character for it, and I was like, these new Dragonborn options. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I looked them over. They're fine. I'm like, good. Because we're building the Dragonborn and it's going to be awesome. And hopefully that will go well for me because I haven't played a Dragonborn in a very long time.
I haven't played a Dragonborn at all, ever. So that might be coming up for me soon at some point, possibly, in someone's game. One of 4 people that I play games with. Be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, Dragonborn are always fun because there's lots of fun ways you can play with Dragonborn.
But no, So next week, I think we've kind of unofficially decided that we're gonna maybe break down and walk through a little bit of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yeah,
Since it'll be out.
It'll be out.
Yeah.
It'll be out. God's willing, it'll be in stock at our local game store.
Also, there will hopefully be alternate art covers.
Right. And we will have those in our hands probably like Wednesday-ish or Friday-ish next week,
Yeah.
depending on when the shipment comes in. And we will be happy to go over. There's a lot of stuff in that book that I know that I want to know more about so I can get my hands on for other games. They just released the stat block for the Carrionet the other day on D&D Beyond, and I cried a little inside. It's so good. So good. So I will be happy to gush about some of the things that are in that book that I will be stealing for other games in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Importantly, if you guys have any comments or suggestions about things you'd like to hear from that book, feel free to drop a comment in the chat or send a message. Be glad to look at specific things if there's something you guys want to look at specifically. If there's anything from this particular episode that you guys found enjoyable, feel free to share that with us too. But I think other than that, that's all I have. So, any last points, regards, comments?
Put art objects in your treasure, people. Do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
To make a really nice dragon horde.
Yeah.
That's all we have to say.
Make it pretty.
Yeah. So, we're going to go for now, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Have a good week.
Bye.